Ever found something that just doesn't make sense? Something that feels out of place, out of time? That's what happened to a user on a popular urban exploration forum. They posted a picture of this strange, heavy-looking device they found deep inside the ruins of an old factory. It looked like a clock, but instead of telling time, it was counting down. The weirdest part, the countdown was set to end on a date years in the future. June 15th, 2042. At first, everyone thought it was just a cool, elaborate prop left behind by a film crew or an artist. People made jokes, theorized about what it could be for. The post got a few hundred upvotes. And then, like most things online, it faded into obscurity. The original poster was never heard from again. But that wasn't the end of the story. About a year later, the clock reappeared. This time, it was in the background of a completely unrelated YouTube video. A travel vlogger was exploring an abandoned subway station in a different country, thousands of miles away. And there it was, sitting on a dusty platform, its red numbers still ticking down. The vlogger didn't even notice it. They were focused on the graffiti, the eerie silence of the tunnels. But a sharp-eyed viewer spotted it. They took a screenshot and posted it online, asking, "Hey, isn't this that weird countdown clock from a while back?" Suddenly, the mystery was reignited. People scrambled to find the original post. They compared the screenshots. It was undeniably the same device. How did it get there? Was it a Wox? Was the travel vlogger in on it? The vlogger swore they had no idea, that they'd never seen it before. They even went back to the station to check, but the clock was gone. This set off a frenzy. A community of online detectives formed, dedicated to tracking the clock. Teika led the Chronos device. Over the next few years, it became a sort of digital ghost story. A modern myth, the clock would appear always in the background, always unnoticed by the person filming. It was in a documentary about deep-sea exploration, sitting on the seabed next to a shipwreck. It was on a live news report about a forest fire, propped against a tree just at the edge of the frame. It was even spotted in a user-submitted photo on a real estate website, sitting on the kitchen counter of an empty house for sale. Each time it appeared, the countdown was shorter, the date June 15th, 2040 looming ever closer. The community meticulously documented every sighting. They created maps, timelines, and complex theories. Some believed it was an incredibly sophisticated alternate reality game, or ARG. Others thought it was a viral marketing campaign for a movie or a video game, though no company ever came forward to claim it. The theories got wilder. Was it an alien artifact? A message from a future civilization? A warning? The community became divided. The skeptics, the pragmatists, argued it had to be a coordinated, long-term prank by a group of people with a lot of time and resources. They pointed out that with modern video editing, it would be possible, though difficult, to digitally insert the clock into all these different pieces of media. They tried to debunk each sighting, looking for digital artifacts, inconsistencies in lighting and shadow, but they could never find any conclusive proof of tampering. The footage always seemed genuine. On the other side were the believers. They were convinced the clock was real and its appearances were a genuine phenomenon. They argued that a hoax of this scale, lasting 4 years across so many different platforms and involving so many unwitting participants, was just too improbable. How could a group of pranksters get a physical object onto a deep-sea submersible or into a restricted fire zone without anyone noticing? The debate raged for years. The Chronos device became a legend, a touchstone for discussions about truth, reality, and the nature of the internet itself. People would scan every video they watched, every picture they saw, hoping for a glimpse of the enigmatic clock and its relentless countdown. It was like a global game of Where's Waldo, but with a sense of growing existential dread. What would happen when the countdown reached 0? And that brings us to the most chilling part of this whole mystery. A few months ago, a historian in the community was digging through digital archives, looking for anything related to the factory where the clock was first discovered. They were looking for old blueprints, employee records, anything that might offer a clue. And they found something. It wasn't a blueprint, it was a projection report, a municipal planning document from decades ago. The document detailed a proposed expansion of the city's infrastructure. It included plans for new highways, new power grids, and a new subterranean transit line, designated as Line 22. The report included geological surveys, stress tests, and projected time. As the historians scrolled through the pages and pages of technical data, one date caught their eye. It was in a footnote, a minor detail in a section about projected structural fatigue and long-term maintenance schedules. The report estimated that, based on the geological composition of the area and the materials proposed for construction, a critical structural failure in a specific section of the Line 22 tunnel was a statistical certainty. The estimated date of this catastrophic collapse, June 15, 2042. The historian felt a cold chill run down their spine. They immediately shared their findings with the Kronos community. The news exploded. Suddenly, all the wild theories seemed to fall away, replaced by a single, terrifying possibility. The clock wasn't predicting a random event. It was counting down to a specific, preventable disaster. The expansion project, including Line 22, had been approved and built exactly as planned years ago. It was now a major artery of the city's transport system, used by hundreds of thousands of people every single day. The connection was undeniable. The date, once a random point in the future, now had a terrifying context. The clock was no longer a mystery. It was a warning. But who was it from? And why this method? Why a cryptic, globe-trotting clock instead of a direct message? The believers now had their strongest piece of evidence. They theorized that someone from the future, perhaps a survivor of the collapse, had sent the clock back in time as a desperate, untraceable warning. Maybe they couldn't interfere more directly without causing a paradox. The clock was a message in a bottle, cast into the ocean of time, hoping someone would find it and understand. The pragmatists, for the first time, were shaken. The coincidence was too perfect. Could it still be a hoax? If so, the perpetrator wasn't just a prankster. They were a master manipulator who had uncovered this obscure planning document and built an elaborate, decade-long narrative around it. The motive was still unclear. Was it to cause a panic? To expose negligence in city planning? The focus of the community shifted dramatically. They were no longer just observers. They felt a sense of responsibility. They tried to contact city officials, engineers, and news outlets. But how do you explain this? Hello, we're an internet group that has been tracking a magic, time-traveling clock, and it's telling us your subway is going to collapse in 20 years. They were dismissed as cranks, conspiracy theorists. The official response was that Line 22 was built to the highest safety standards and is inspected regularly. There was no cause for concern, but the community persists. They are compiling all the evidence every sighting of the clock, the original engineering report, expert analysis into a comprehensive dossier. They believe that if they can get enough public attention, they can force the authorities to take a second look, to conduct new geological surveys, to reinforce the tunnel before it's too late. The clock hasn't been seen since the discovery of the Line 22 report. It's as if its primary mission, to connect the countdown to the event, is complete. Now, the responsibility rests on the shoulders of those who saw it and understood. So, what do you think? Is this the most elaborate prank in internet history? Or is it a genuine warning from the future? A race against time playing out in plain sight? The date is still years away, but the clock is ticking. For the hundreds of thousands of people who will be riding Line 22 on June 15, 2042, the answer to that question could be the difference between life and death. The story is far from over. It's just entered its most critical phase. Thanks for watching. If you have any theories, share them in the comments below. Stay curious and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. See you in the next video.